In this video, I sketch out a portrait of David Bowie in the style of the artist Deb Weiers. So Deb's portraits are very distinctive. They are quite distorted. The eyes and the nose and the mouth in particular are very much easy to recognise her style. So I'm going to try to achieve that in my portrait too. They're also mixed media, so there are things like newspaper and book pages on there. There are also words. Now the words in the portraits are distinctive to the actual person in the portrait. So I'm going to use some David Bowie lyrics in my attempt. And we'll see how we get on. But come back for part 2, please. I'm hoping it will get better. So this is the portrait that I'm going to use as my starting point. It's a lovely portrait of Bowie. So I think it's quite difficult to do a Deb Weiers style portrait of somebody like David Bowie because he's very handsome, and these portraits aren't, it's not going to end up looking particularly beautiful. So I've got to try and struggle with the fact that I'm going to need to do something that looks like a Deb Weiers but also looks like David Bowie. So here I'm trying to get the cheekbones in, to get that shape of the face in. I think I might need to go a little bit longer. And then the hair is particularly distinctive in this photo. So I'm just sort of roughly sketching out where I think it should go, because I'm actually going to use some mixed media on the hair. So just roughly sketching out the shape of it. And then trying to put those strands of hair in as well. And then just sort of working out whereabouts I'm going to put the eyes. Now in Deb's portraits, the nose and the eyes and the lips, as I've said, are very distinctive. So the nostrils I'm just sort of sketching in. But you'll see a bit later on that I actually redo the nose because it doesn't look. It's a bit of a struggle. So just sketching in where I think things are going to go. And I start off by making the mouth really big because they are quite big in Deb Weiers portraits. But it ends up looking a little bit like maybe Prince, you'll see. Or Little Richard or something, so then I do have to tweak it. Okay, so roughly sketching things out anyway. David Bowie has got very distinctive eyes too. I think he had an accident when he was a child, and one of the pupils appears bigger than the other, and it makes his eyes look different colours, which you'll see in another photo that I'll show you in a minute. So I definitely want to get that in, and will be doing that in part 2. So it's all looking a bit strange at the moment. Putting some eyebrows in. And as you can see, it's looking, looking quite strange. But then, as I say, it's a sort of a balance, because you want it to look like the person, but you also want it to look like a Deb Weiers. Okay, so just trying to get the mouth shape right. He's actually got his mouth open because it's a shush. He's making a shushing movement. So you'll see I do start to sort of try to redraw bits of it, because I've realised that I've not made the face shape quite wide enough. Getting a few more wrinkles in. And redrawing the ear and some of the hair. Making the jaw a bit more masculine as well. Okay, so next thing is to try to draw the hands. So you'll see I've brought a picture in that has got one of the ways that she does hands. So I'm trying to make the fingers a little bit more spindly and elongating them just slightly, but just sketching those in quite quickly. Just trying to get the position of the fingers and the angles. Just quickly sketching those in. And then I'm going to take a rubber and rub out the bits that are showing through, the bits of the lips that are showing through. And at this point I decide to do something else with the lips because, and the nose, because I just think it's not quite there. Just having a bit of a tweak, because he's got a nice sort of, quite a fine featured face really. So it sort of goes against the grain to try to make him into a Deb Weiers. And again, having to tweak the eyebrows. So this is the process though. Don't forget that, you know, you don't get it right the first time. You don't need to throw it away. You just need to keep working at it. And hopefully eventually you'll get something you're pleased with. So sketching in the other bits of the portrait, like the neckline. And leave it at that. Next thing is I'm just going to do the mixed media hair. So a little... I've got an old book that the pages are coming out of, so I'm using that. But please, make sure you use you know, an old tatty book. Don't just go ripping pages out of a book. Okay, so I've got tracing paper. I'm tracing the shape of the hair. I'm going to put the piece of book page underneath, holding them together like I'm going to use the tracing paper like a pattern, and I'm going to cut out that shape. So I've just speeded this up for quickness. Okay, and I've cut it out. Here's my piece of hair. It's just like fitting a wig. I'm just going to pop that on there. And at this point I do actually realise that the hair is completely too small, but I will be drawing a bit more on top of that. Okay, so here we go. I've glued the hair down. I'm making the hair a little bit bigger. Right, so here's the picture with his eyes, and here is another picture with the Aladdin Sane sort of slash, and I've not decided whether to have it in the background or on his face yet, but I've gone with this for now. Okay, and I'm using lyrics from Starman. So there's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our mind. So they're the lyrics. And that's where I'm up to so far. But if you tune back in tomorrow, I will show you how I add some watercolour and some more mixed media, inks, and hopefully it will look a lot more like David Bowie.